It was about 8:45 a.m. when the first plane rammed into one of the World Trade Center's towers in New York, and one naval officer several hundred miles away was watching in shock. He couldn't believe what was happening until it happened to him at this office in the Pentagon. Here's NBC's Ann Thompson.
Tuesday, 7 a.m. It begins just like any other day at the Pentagon. Retired naval officer Jerry Henson arrives for work. Now a civilian, Henson manages counter-drug operations for the Navy. But by 9 a.m., Henson, like the rest of us, is sitting in his first-floor office watching television. He is transfixed by the horrifying images of the World Trade Center coming in from New York.
I was watching the airplane, came around, made a approach, and turned into the second one. So it was clear that it was a terrorist attack, and I just couldn't believe it.
Little did he know that just minutes later, he would be fighting for his own life.
I'm sitting at my desk, and instantly there is a beam laying in my lap, jamming me into the seat so that I can't move. There's another piece of furniture or something against my head. I knew it wasn't a bomb. I knew it must have been another airplane.
As soon as Kathy Henson, Jerry's wife of 38 years, heard about the attack, she reached for the phone.
And I started calling Jerry immediately. I tried the work number knowing that wouldn't work, but then we did the cell phone and nothing.
It's total blackness, and there is billowing smoke beginning to come in. It didn't get hot instantly, but you could tell there were fires not too far away because you could feel the heat of them.
As a pilot in the U.S. Navy, Jerry Henson has felt the heat many times before. In fact, Henson flew 72 combat reconnaissance missions over Vietnam, launching from aircraft carriers, commanding attack squadrons, dodging enemy fire, coming home without so much as a scratch.
That was another miracle of my life. You could fly right through the flak and think you couldn't possibly make it through and come back intact. No, I was never injured or had a fragment strike my airplane.
But on Tuesday, in what most in the military might think is a cushy job at the Pentagon, Jerry is in trouble. Jerry Henson is close to losing his life working at his desk, an irony not lost on his wife.
And I'm thinking, you know, Jerry flew in Vietnam all those years, and he got home safe. And I'm sitting here saying, my God, he's going to get killed as a civilian sitting at the desk at the Pentagon.
We continually yelled for help, but we couldn't hear anybody else. There were no voices.
I didn't think he was alive. I thought I'd lost my husband.
I figure I've got maybe 5 more minutes of life because the black smoke is so bad that it cuts off your oxygen.
And then a glimmer of hope.
I see a white light coming in from the outside. I'm waving at him. He says, "I'm a doctor. Are you hurt?" I said, "I'm pinned down. I can't move." So he lays on his back and he puts his feet against the object, and he lifts it. Maybe I have no idea how he lifted it because I hadn't even been able to shake it.
Jerry remembers being dragged out of the building to safety. He doesn't know by whom.
These guys had wet T-shirts over their head, and they were as much at risk as I was just by coming in the room. So undoubtedly they saved my life.
Master Sergeant James Smith and Major Gary McKay of the Army National Guard were 2 of the men who ripped their T-shirts off, doused them in water, and wrapped their faces. It was the only way to breathe through the heavy smoke.
Anything we could get to cut the smoke. The smoke became very toxic very fast.
They don't work at the Pentagon. They just happen to be there for a meeting. But after the plane hit, instead of evacuating with everyone else, they headed into the fire. Nobody asked you guys to go to the scene. You just went.
Yes, ma'am.
There were people injured, and we weren't not going to leave them if there was any possible way to get them out. They needed help, and we were the help.
Had to be done. That's what we had to do.
And they had help. Dozens of volunteers who formed a human chain that stretched right into the fire and smoke. They handed victims out as they found them.
Once we got down on our hands and knees when the smoke got so bad and went up, tried to stay low under the smoke, close to the floor, several other individuals was standing out to the edge, and they would keep calling, you know, Smitty, where are you? Are you okay? And we kept talking back and forth. We're fine, just keep talking.
How did you find people?
You just listened to see if you could hear anyone calling out. We called out, you know, can you hear us? Anybody there? I know of 2 that were located because we could hear their voice down on the bottom ring.
Were there calls for help you couldn't reach?
I know of one. I'm not sure the outcome.
Does that haunt you? Has it occurred to you guys that you saved people's lives?
I would hope so.
I think we helped. I really do. It's hard to say what the outcome may have been if we had not been there. I think we made a difference.
People are calling you brave, courageous, heroes.
I think we just pretty much did our job.
There were many people who just did their jobs that day, like Jerry Henson's doctor, Anthony Casolaro. But there was only so much any of them could do.
And the saddest moment was, at about 3, the call came over from the on-the-scene EMTs, and they said, we don't expect to make another transport.
Jerry Henson is one of the lucky ones. He's going to be okay. And now he wants to meet his heroes, the people who crawled into the inferno to pull him to safety.
I sure want to meet them. Thank you and God bless.
There's no words to express our gratefulness. Jerry would not be with us, and it's as simple as that. I cannot express all the many, many, many kindnesses. It's restored my faith in Americans.
And that was NBC's Lee Thompson reporting.